Chapter 23. The big day had finally arrived. I changed into my travel clothes, more refined and elegant than my usual look, with just enough flair to feel a bit fancy. The midnight blue tunic dress flowed gently past mid-thigh, trimmed with soft silver embroidery that shimmered subtly in the light. A fitted corset belt hugged my waist, giving the whole outfit a graceful silhouette. Over my shoulders, a lightweight crimson cape fell neatly, secured by a polished clasp at my collar. Dark tights and lace-up leather boots completed the look, practical, but still undeniably stylish. My hair had been brushed and tied back loosely with a ribbon, framing my face just enough to seem deliberate. Not that I managed all this on my own. Less than I have layered the garments according to current temperature. Greater than Raphael commented helpfully from within. Yeah, I know. She also helped with my hair again. I was getting spoiled. With one last look in the mirror, I exhaled and stepped outside. The whole camp was a hive of activity. Supplies were being loaded, final checks made. Goblins, lizard men, and Kijin all moved with practiced efficiency. It felt good, alive, like we were heading towards something important. Off to the side stood Kijin and the three dwarf brothers, already dressed in their own formal wear suits they clearly weren't used to. I had to admit, seeing Kijin squirm in a stiff collar was weirdly satisfying. "Good morning, gentlemen," I greeted, smiling. "Whoa, boss." Kijin turned. "You're looking sharp." "Morning," Dold and Garm chimed in, and Mildo nodded silently, ever his quiet self. I gave them a once-over. "You all clean up pretty well." Kijin groaned, adjusting his sleeves. "Speak for yourself. I haven't worn anything this stiff since, ever." Garm muttered, "She's still more graceful than us." She. I blinked, then remembered. Oh. Right, that story. Back when I first met them, I panicked. Told them I'd once been a girl, some tragic noble who got cursed into a slime. It had been such an absurd, dramatic mess of a tale. And weirdly, they just believed it. At the time, I was just trying to throw them off the trail of, actually, I'm a Japanese salaryman turned slime. They never really brought it up again after that. But also, they never questioned anything. Not the way I dressed. Not the softness in my voice sometimes. Not the way I looked. It was like that backstory still quietly explained everything in their minds. I didn't bother correcting them now. That'd just make it weird. Kijin scratched his head. "Well, you look great, boss. Suits you." Thanks, I said, deadpan. "I try." "Indeed, you do." A familiar voice floated in from behind me. I turned slightly. Ren approached, her steps measured and elegant as ever. Still in her pristine maid outfit, black with white lace trim, matching gloves, and her signature no-nonsense expression, though her eyes briefly softened when they met mine. "You're late," she said. "We're nearly finished with departure prep. Should I assume you were held up by wardrobe decisions?" "Maybe," I muttered. She gave me a look. That quietly smug kind of look. Like she knew exactly how long I spent fixing my hair this morning. Kijin whistled low. "That's the maid you've got, huh? Impressive," Garm added with an approving nod. Ren gave them a brief, courteous bow. "A pleasure." She didn't say anything more, but her gaze lingered on my outfit for just a moment, subtle, thoughtful. Then she leaned a bit closer to me and whispered, just loud enough for me to hear, "You look more comfortable than yesterday." I stiffened. "Don't worry," she added smoothly, "I won't say anything." I frowned. That's exactly the kind of thing someone says before they absolutely say something. A faint smirk tugged at her lips. "Who, me? I'm merely a humble maid." I stared at her, deadpan. Blackmailed by her master's cuteness, wasn't it? She feigned a gasp, placing a hand on her chest in mock horror. A loyal maid, blackmailed into silence by her master's charm, trapped in a web of forbidden cuteness and relentless wardrobe changes. What cruel fate is this? I raised an eyebrow. "You make it sound like you're living a tragic opera." Ren faltered. That's not inaccurate." "Oh, so you admit you're enjoying the drama." She looked away quickly, cheeks barely pink. "You're imagining things." I grinned. "Then I guess I'll keep imagining." She let out a small groan. "You're insufferable, and yet you still show up every morning." Ren sighed dramatically. "A tragic devotion to duty." "Sure, definitely not because you enjoy it." Please stop talking." I smiled. Victory. After a little bit more waiting, we were all ready to go. Things proceeded smoothly en route. Geld's efforts had paid off. We now had a beautifully laid road to travel on. It had been widened to a comfortable size, making it easy for wagons to traverse. Taking advantage of this, we were now traveling in style with 2 wolf wagons in our party. There were just under 10 of us joining the dwarves on this trip. First was Ren, my ever-reliable, sharp-tongued, suspiciously perfect maid. Then came Xian, my main assistant, followed by Shuna, officially my deputy secretary, though let's be honest, she was more like my personal chef. Still, with her grace and calm, I figured she could help present things like our budding fabric-making operation to the dwarves with a bit of class. We were on the lead wagon, me, along with Ren, Shuna, and Xian. Which, of course, meant I was fussed over the entire way. One of them would smooth out a wrinkle in my cloak, the other would gently tidy my hair, and the third kept trying to adjust how I was sitting like I was some kind of noble lady. I wasn't a slime anymore, but apparently that just made me easier to dress up and coddle. The second wagon had the 4 dwarves packed shoulder to shoulder, looking grumpy and overstuffed. Compared to that, I really couldn't complain about being surrounded by 3 beautiful women, even if the pampering was getting just a bit ridiculous. Finally, Gobta was shoring up our guard with several hobgoblins patrolmen under his direct control. In the back of the wagon, nestled among carefully arranged supplies, were gifts meant for King Gazel Dwargo. Thoughtful, well-crafted, and clearly expensive. Nothing over the top, but chosen with care: Tempest silk, preserved gourmet ingredients, and specialty crafts to showcase our culture and goodwill. I eyed them, resisting the urge. I could just store all of that in my stomach, you know. But no. Apparently, we had to look the part. We must present ourselves with proper form, Ren said primly beside me, her tone dignified and just slightly self-important, like she'd rehearsed the line in front of a mirror. I held back a sigh. You heard her, Rimuru. We are professionals. She really did look the part: straight posture, hands folded in her lap, elegance practically radiating off her. Honestly, Vester's etiquette lessons paid off better on her than they ever did on me. Still, curiosity gnawed at me. What exactly did we pack? I subtly leaned forward, eyes flicking toward the corner bundle covered with cloth. Just a quick peek. My lord. Ren's voice came sharp and smooth, like the edge of a paper fan. I froze mid-reach. She didn't even look at me. Just sipped her tea. Where had she gotten tea? Like a proper noble. From beside me, Xian laughed softly. Across from us, Shuna smiled gently, like she'd already seen this exact play before. Ren let out a slow, regal exhale. Her eyes didn't leave the horizon, but I felt the glare anyway. Then, inside my mind, less than you were being rather obvious, master. Greater than. Raphael's voice was velvet smooth, almost amused. Not helping. Less than on the contrary, greater than, she continued. Less than I find this side of you endearing. Greater than, there was a teasing lilt there. She knew exactly what she was doing. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Less than immensely. Shall I create a minor wind distraction to assist your next attempt? Greater than, you're seriously offering to help me cheat at gift peeking now? Less than only for you. Greater than, I rolled my eyes, but my lips twitched. She really had gotten bolder lately. Or maybe I was just noticing it more. One more try. I leaned forward again, slow and subtle this time, just enough to shift the cloth with a finger. Ren turned her head, met my eyes, and delivered a glare so sharp, so menacing, it needed no words. Touch it and you're dead. That was the message, loud and clear. I immediately retracted my hand, posture snapping upright like I was in military formation. I hadn't touched a thing. Didn't even think about it. Nope. Xian snorted quietly. Shuna giggled again. I see, I said flatly. It's a coordinated conspiracy, Ren said, her tone completely even. I'm only doing what's best for your dignity, my lord. I pouted. You mean your job satisfaction? She didn't deny it. Inside, Raphael whispered with amused delight. Less than the mission has failed. Shall I simulate tears for sympathy? Greater than. I choked on a laugh and slouched in defeat. I'm surrounded. We spotted the distant silhouette of the Canot Mountains on the second day of travel. So far, the journey had gone remarkably smoothly along the well-maintained road. The total distance was a little over 600 miles one way, but compared to cutting through uncleared forest, this felt like a luxury. Roads made all the difference. I was traveling as a state guest this time, after all. Showing up covered in dust and grime wouldn't exactly be the most dignified first impression. Along the way, we came across a group of high orcs hard at work resurfacing the road. They moved in perfect sync, like a well-oiled machine. At the center of it all, arms crossed and exuding confidence, stood their leader Geld. We ran into them around midday on the second day of travel, a whole crew of high orcs diligently working on the road. Gravel crunched beneath boots, hammers thudded in rhythm, and the sun beat down on their backs. Leading them, as always, was Geld, arms crossed, giving off an air of calm authority as he barked out orders. It was honestly impressive. Actually impressive. These guys are smoother than half the construction crews I saw back on Earth, I muttered, walking up beside the wagon. Geld noticed me and immediately approached with a crisp salute. Sir Rimuru, our work is progressing smoothly, he said with pride. The road ahead is already cleared and surfaced. We've just finished reinforcing the sides here. You'll have a smooth journey the rest of the way. Wow, thanks. Great work, Geld. You've really whipped them into shape. He bowed his head, eyes glinting. We owe it all to you, Sir Rimuru. Your gift gave us direction. Please, let us continue proving our worth. Moved, I smiled and raised a hand. You're already doing that. We hadn't planned to stop for the night here, but sometimes, that's fine. The crew had done an outstanding job, and frankly, they deserved a break, and so did we. So, yeah, we decided to stay, and since I did happen to be carrying some supplies in my stomach, I conjured up several barrels of fine drink and dropped them beside the road. Here, feel free to knock off early. You've earned it, go celebrate. The cheer that went up from the workers could probably be heard from the next region. As the celebration started, Ren remained perfectly poised at my side, adjusting my cape with just the right touch, brushing a bit of dust off the hem of my blue tunic. Ever the image of elegance. We must present ourselves with proper dignity, she said calmly. Of course, even on the roadside, Ren was in full perfect maid mode. Less than she's not wrong, greater than Raphael commented with a little purr in her voice. Less than but I think you are the one who looks most presentable today. That red cape really brings out the hero in you. Or perhaps, greater than, don't finish that sentence. Less than oh, but I haven't even started. You really shouldn't tempt me while looking this good. Greater than, I cleared my throat, a little too loud, and turned toward the barrels of drink instead. One of them looked a little loose. I casually reached out just a peek, not really opening it, just. Ren's glare hit me like a blast of freezing magic. No words, just eyes. Touch it, and you're dead. I yanked my hand back like it had been stung, quickly folding both arms behind my back and pretending I'd just stretched. Nothing suspicious here. Ren's gaze lingered a moment longer, perfectly composed. Deadly calm. That glare was lethal, and unmistakably hers. The next day. Good morning, Rimuru-sama. The moment Ren opened the door of the hut and gently nudged me outside, I was greeted by the thunderous roar of hundreds of orcs shouting in perfect unison. Whoa, apparently, all the high orcs I hadn't greeted personally yesterday had gathered early, forming neat rows that stretched across the camp. The morning air was filled with pride, discipline, and a contagious energy. Ren stood calmly beside me, ever composed. Her uniform was pristine, her posture flawless. She bowed slightly, her expression serene. They've been waiting since before dawn, she said. It would be impolite not to greet them properly. I straightened up with a faint sigh and raised my hand. Good job, everyone, I called. A fresh cheer erupted through the lines. Ren gave a small approving nod, like a general inspecting troops. Honestly, she really did fit the role of perfect maid a little too well. Then, predictably, Raphael chimed in. Less than you truly are charming when you take initiative. Greater than, quote. You're not helping. Less than that was never my intention. I'm simply appreciating your growth. Personally. Greater than, I could practically feel the smugness in that pause. I turned slightly, pretending to scan the crowd just to peek again at the carts near the back where the gifts for King Gazel were stored. Maybe. Don't even think about it, Ren said without looking at me. I flinched and quickly looked away. I wasn't thinking anything. She didn't dignify that with a response. We rounded out the stop by watching the crews as they got back to work. Geld gave me one final, hearty thanks, barrel of drink in one arm, pride in his voice, and then jogged off to shout a few new instructions at his team. Their energy was as high as ever, picks swinging and soil turning like they hadn't just thrown a celebration a few hours ago. It was almost enough to make me feel lazy by comparison. I watched them go, arms folded. Hard-working bunch, I murmured. Less than they reflect their leader. Greater than Raphael whispered, and I didn't need to see her expression to know she was smiling. I coughed into my hand. They reflect Geld, you mean. Less than, if you say so. Greater than. Ren, of course, was standing next to me with perfect posture, umbrella in hand to shade me from the sun like some noble escort. I could feel her sideways glance even before she spoke. Do try not to downplay your influence, Sir Rimuru, she said softly. Quote. Is this a team up now? I muttered. Neither answered. Figures. With the sun rising high, we packed up once more and climbed into the lead wagon. And so, with a gentle jolt, the wagons rolled forward. We were on the road once again. Riding on the completed road made our wolf wagon journey smoother than ever. It even felt like we were moving faster. The construction effort was already paying off. The stones lining the highway were rough to the touch, perfectly meshing with the resin-coated tires of our wagons and preventing slippage. They were designed for traction in rainy weather, but I hadn't expected them to smooth out the ride this well. I was sure the merchants who'd travel this road in the future would be grateful. Watching the scenery roll by, I let out a small, satisfied breath. We were doing something right. By the afternoon of the fourth day, we finally saw it. The armed nation of Dworgen. Last time I was here, they made us line up in front of the gate. Looking up at the large, imposing entrance, I found myself quietly reminiscing about the last visit. Inside the wagon, I changed into the ceremonial attire chosen during our earlier dress-up session, a flowing dark gown with gold embroidery that shimmered with every movement. As I stepped down from the wagon, Ren was already waiting. She moved in wordlessly, smoothing out the front of my gown, brushing off my shoulders, and adjusting the angle of the cape with methodical care. There, she said, stepping back with an approving nod. You'll make a fine impression. Less than flawless, master. If they do not kneel, they are simply blind. Greater than. I tugged at my glove, pretending I didn't hear that. I had barely stepped down and adjusted the ceremonial outfit when a small furor broke out up front. Oh no, please don't be Gobta again. I glanced over only to see the dwarves had already hopped off their wagon and were busy trying to pry the city gate open on their own. Hey, bro, glad to see you're well. A voice called out casually, and I turned to see Kaido, the captain of the local guard and Kaijin's younger brother, approaching with his usual calm. Behind me, Ren stepped in close and brushed down the front of my outfit, adjusting a fold of fabric with smooth, practiced hands. She inspected me once more like a royal display piece. Less than our arrivals do seem to leave an impression. Greater than, Raphael noted with dry amusement. And we didn't even plan this one. Less than I could make a schedule. Greater than, don't you dare. Ren straightened, voice low and composed. Please try not to do anything unbecoming of the ruler of Tempest. I blinked. Quote. You say that like I go around picking fights. Her eyes narrowed just enough to make her point. Okay. Regal mode. Engaged. Ah, Kaido, how long has it been? Life's been a blast working for my old boss Rimuru, let me tell ya. Kaijin said proudly, grinning from ear to ear. I'm sure. It's written all over your face. Kaido looked around, scanning the area. Where is Sir Rimuru, by the way? We owe our state guest a proper welcome. All while standing literally right next to me. Ah, Kaido, long time no see. He turned, blinked in surprise and then broke into a wide grin. Lady Rimuru, you really did break the curse. I let my cloak swirl dramatically and gave a mock curtsy, brimming with faux grace. Tragic, wasn't it? But I overcame it, curse broken and all. Kaido looked genuinely impressed. You look like royalty. The stories didn't do you justice. Behind me, Ren stepped forward without missing a beat, adjusting a slight crease in my cape as if nothing unusual was going on. Without even glancing at me, she spoke in a perfectly level tone. My lord, did you seriously go with the cliché tale of a cursed royal turned into a frog, or was it a slime? Should I be bracing for the part where a handsome prince breaks the curse with true love's kiss? She said it so smoothly, so effortlessly in character, it took everything in me not to break into laughter. I cleared my throat. Now, let's not ruin the mystery. Ren's hand briefly straightened my collar. Of course. My apologies, my lord. Please, do continue your enchanting tale. She smiled just slightly, eyes gleaming with barely concealed mischief. Less than her wit is as sharp as ever. Greater than, Raphael observed. Don't encourage her, I muttered back. It wasn't until long after the gate was fully opened. We passed through the front gate, yes, the main gate led by Kaido and his guards in full formal procession. Normally, wagons and vehicles would be shunted through a side entrance and parked in a holding yard. But not today. As official state guests, we were allowed to ride in with full honors, starwolves and all. And wow, did those starwolves draw attention. Their glossy fur shimmered in the light, muscles rippling beneath the surface with every elegant step. The massive beasts pulled our wagons like it was nothing. That alone would have drawn a crowd, but the real showstopper was the gate itself. They rarely opened it for anyone short of a major royal envoy. So naturally, people had questions. As we rolled in, I caught fragments of the growing buzz from both sides of the street. Taming such magnificent magical beasts. They must be a powerful faction. Are those magical? I've never seen anything like them. What strange wagons. Look, the wheels move independently to keep it steady. That's some advanced smith work. But who are they? The main gate. Really, they're not from a kingdom we know, right? That escort's pretty small for a major power. I heard they sent a ruler, but all I see is a princess. I was expecting some old king. Yeah, but she's cute, isn't she? On there it is. I felt my shoulders twitch as I suppressed the sigh rising in my chest. Not again. This outfit the one Ren and the others had chosen for me after that blessedly long dress-up session was apparently working too well. Ren, of course, sat beside me, serene and composed, eyes straight ahead like the perfect maid. I could feel the pride radiating off her, like she was showing off her favorite work of art. Which was, me. Less than the reactions are within acceptable parameters. I believe the attire choice was effective greater than Raphael said, the hint of smugness in her voice unmistakable. Effective, I mumbled under my breath, wasn't the goal. Ren turned slightly at my whisper, just enough to tilt her head in that subtle, knowing way of hers. She didn't say anything but she didn't have to. Her posture practically screamed, "This is what you get for doubting us." I looked forward, cheeks heating a little as we continued our grand entrance, trying to pretend I didn't hear someone whisper, "elegant," and "adorable," in the same breath. We proceeded along the wide, stone-paved street as Kaido led the way toward the royal palace. The city bustled around us, but everyone respectfully stepped aside when they caught sight of the formal escort. Kaido came to a stop just short of the palace gates. "I won't be joining you inside," he said, glancing at Kaijin with a grin. "But I'll see you soon, brother." "You got it. I'll see you," Kaijin replied with a nod. There was a hint of brotherly pride in his eyes. Kaido turned to me next, gave a formal bow, and offered a salute. "Lady Rimuru, welcome back to Dworgen." I gave him a light wave. "Thanks, Kaido. Don't cry too hard now." He let out a small chuckle and turned away, his guards falling in behind him as he left us at the gate. Taking his place was a familiar face. Dolph, captain of the Pegasus Knights, was waiting in full civil dress. The uniform made him look like some proper court official, but those sharp, observant eyes told a different story. He was the same undercover elite I remembered, quiet, composed, and dangerous. Dolph gave a formal bow as we approached. "It's an honor to receive you, Lady Rimuru. His Majesty awaits your presence in the palace." "Lady Rimuru." I tilted my head slightly, confused. That was new. Less than it is likely they have heard the tale you once told Kaido, and accepted it as truth. Greater than. Oh, right, that old cursed princess turned into a slime story. Ren stood beside me with her usual calm poise, her expression unreadable. She gently reached out and smoothed a fold in my ceremonial sleeve, ever the perfect maid, as if nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. "Shall we proceed, Lady Rimuru?" she asked, the faintest glimmer in her eye professional, measured. I wasn't sure if she noticed the title or if she was just going along with things. Either way, she didn't miss a beat. Less than if the role of lady becomes a permanent one, I would be delighted to advise on appropriate behavior. Greater than, not helping, Raphael. Ren's Pav otaku maid blend. Lady Rimuru. That's how Dolph addressed him, cool, polished, professional. And how could he not? He looked like royalty incarnate. That jet black gown hugged her just right, with gold filigree curling like magic along the hem. Gloves all the way up to the elbow. That choker with the gemstone. Designer tier. We really outdid ourselves back at the dress-up session. I stood perfectly poised at her side, hands delicately folded, chin dipped in professional reverence. But inside, I was spiraling into delighted chaos. Oh no, oh yes, she was pulling it off so well. The way she held the gown's skirt just slightly while walking. The subtle smirk. The way her posture screamed, "I was born to rule and/or star in a villainous anime." Was I imagining it, or did her steps glide? And then Dolph said it again. Lady Rimuru. I almost dropped character. Almost. But of course, I didn't. Instead, I adjusted a fold in her skirt with just the right amount of flourish, and bowed low like a flawless NPC at the start of a noble route. Shall we proceed, my lady? I said smoothly, eyes twinkling behind an unreadable maid smile. She gave me a brief side glance. Was that an eye twitch? A suppressed sigh? Perfect. From this moment onward, she is Lady Rimuru. Out of respect, of course. And for the sheer comedy of it. Also, the way she's owning that dress. Honestly, she deserves it. I glanced at her again. The posture, the grace, the way the gown swayed like it had its own soundtrack. Yes, this is the final boss of femininity. And I, the loyal maid, have chosen my side. Rimuru's POV. Gopta wouldn't be entering the king's receiving room, thankfully. Our guard squad would be waiting in the chamber next door, up front. It'd just be us and the king's attendants inside. I was glad they let Shuna and Xian in without trouble. Xian might have been my secretary on paper, but between her stance and presence, she radiated bodyguard. If they'd insisted I go in alone, she would have kicked the door off its hinges. And then there was Ren, my attendant, though that barely scratched the surface. She walked silently at my side, all poise and perfection, watching me with laser focus like a hawk ready to swat my hand if I so much as picked at my gloves. One disapproving flick of her eyes was enough to make me sit straighter and pretend I belonged here. So yeah, I left it all to her. Dolph led us through the palace. Unlike last time, we weren't heading straight to the dungeons. The halls were broad and full of decorative flare columns, tapestries, marble floors polished to the point of reflecting my overly formal shoes. Magic sense helped me stay upright, since I was half convinced I'd trip in front of someone important. At the end of the long corridor stood a ridiculously ornate door. Her Majesty Rimuru, the guard announced loudly, sovereign of the Jura Tempest Federation. That title still sounded way too dramatic. Especially considering I was currently wearing a dress that could be straight out of an Otome game. Follow me, said a female dwarven attendant as she stepped forward. King Gazel is waiting for you. Dolph saluted one last time and stood aside. The doors creaked open, and, how nice to see you again, Rimuru. King Gazel greeted me. That was it. No drama, no ceremony, just a casual welcome, and suddenly everything started moving fast. A seat was offered, and I sat without thinking. Ren and Shuna immediately stepped up to deliver our formal greeting. Ren handed a prepared list of gifts to one of the king's aides with such elegant authority, I felt like I should be serving her. Seriously, Ren rocks. I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing at this point, so I just kept smiling like we practiced. Just act relaxed, in control, Ren had told me. Leave the rest to your perfect maid. So I did. I sat there, pretending I was born to wear this absurdly fancy gown. Shuna offered support beside Ren, and the two of them gracefully handled the opening formalities while I tried to sit like a noblewoman, resisting every urge to slouch or cross my legs the wrong way. The initial exchanges felt like they took forever, though in reality, they were pretty short. I was too zoned out to follow the details. Good thing I had Raphael silently recording everything for later. Honestly, I was barely present until I started noticing something strange. Nobody called me he, or sir. It was all Lady Rimuru. Even Gazel. I was stunned for a second before I mentally facepalmed. Oh no, this had to be because of Kaido. I told him that dumb joke about being a cursed princess turned into a slime. Did he actually spread that story? Less than it is likely the dwarf soldiers accepted it from Kaido's account. No one has questioned it thus far. Greater than. I let out a very tiny sigh. Great, so now everyone thinks I'm a royal damsel who got her curse undone or something. And honestly, nobody seems to mind. They've fully bought the act. Especially Ren. She knows me from my previous life but still enjoying it way too much, she even started calling me lady. It's useless arguing with her when she makes up her mind to do something, so I let it slide. She stood behind me in that perfect posture, playing the devoted attendant to the letter, but I just knew she was loving this way too much. I could practically hear her internal monologue. My lovely Lady Rimuru-sama, so radiant today tilde. I swear, I saw her smirk for half a second before catching herself. Yeah, I was definitely never living this down. To be continued.